Welcome. This is Patitos Gang, and this is the second part of our conversation as a tribute to one of the early female gang members, Remy Oyo, as we travel down the last year, 20 years of Patitos Gang, and remember some of the people who made Patitos Gang happen. So, as tribute to Remy, we are talking about the gender agenda, part 2. We started this conversation talking about some of the challenges that women face in this society. Amongst the issues that we have dealt with have been issues of rape, of social stress on women who bear a significant burden of our society's challenges and get into mental health challenges. And so we want to continue that conversation, perhaps beginning with the subject of suicide, because Nigeria's unfortunate profile in the suicide department seems to be a rising one. And again, the stresses of economic challenges, the stresses of transition in society, and all of those add to this. What could we be doing to engage this really problematic issue of suicide in our society and these other gender, kinds of challenges, even though men and women are all committing suicide, but women tend to have a greater burden of the affliction, if you will call that.
Okay, so Prof, while you were still speaking, I just wanted to interrupt, and I was going to say, when you asked what should we do, I was going to say talk. But I thought, would I be wrong to say talk? But now I realize I wouldn't be wrong to say talk. The first thing we have to start doing as a family, as churches, as institutions, and communities, is to begin to talk about it, to begin to realize that this is what we are going through. This is the problem. Yes, this is the problem. This is the problem that we're going through. We've got to admit and accept that suicide is an issue now in Nigeria. When I was growing up, I used to think that the only country where people commit suicide is India. And, when I watch Indian films and somebody rapes you or somebody jilts you, then you commit suicide. But right now, we have 21-year-olds committing suicide, teenagers committing suicide because the teenager didn't do well in job. We have people committing suicide because love is going wrong or finances is going wrong and all of that. So we have to begin to, as a government, at the state level, at the local government level, at the federal level, realize that this is an issue. Suicide is an issue. And let's begin to talk about it.
And then what do we do? After talking, which is very important,
then we need to begin to put structures in place. Then we begin to put structures in place. And first, the responsibility should lie on me as a person first, because I'm in a family. I should be able to reach out to you to ask you, how are you doing? When I realize that there's something wrong with you, then I should begin to talk to you and I should begin to ask you to look for help.
We live in the social media age when everybody is holding this, father is holding his instrument, the mother is holding. Nobody is asking what's happening to the person next door. Yes. And it's a critical part of this whole mental health challenge.
So I agree with her. Talk. But however, do we have the institutions too to help us to get out of suicide, to get out of depression, to get out of mental illnesses? There's an example now that my sister and her group they're trying to solve. Her classmate is they found her in the market somewhere in Lagos here. Somebody had been a GM of a company, one of the multinationals, and she had been into drugs. She had been into
substance abuse,
all sort of things, and she's very ill now. But her family threw her out.
That's a stigma. Yeah. No, go ahead, because we have had to try and deal with this issue at the Center for Values and Leadership.
Now we're trying to get her into an institution, not an institution where she will be kept away, but take her to hospital, and that each hospital is rejecting her.
Oh dear.
So do we have the support base in this country?
The truth is that beyond talking, we should also, as a people, educate each other and be more and show more empathy. And then we need to educate people on what it means to be depressed or to be suicidal, that they actually do need help, and that there are people who can help. You have psychiatrists, you have psychologists, people, because of the stigma.
We once got Dr. Memunat Kadri to speak at the CVL on some of these issues. How much can civil society do above and beyond what we expect government to do? How much can families do?
But beyond that is even the distrust that we have for the practice of medicine, for instance. So we like to hide, say for example, someone has cancer, and then in families you hear people going, look, you don't mention that name. These are not the kinds of things that you say. So how would people get educated? How would they know what to do if they were in that kind of position? So families would like to hide, they want to hide that someone has mental issues because they feel...
The fact that someone has a mental health issue there shouldn't be any stigma. It's just to say that just like you just like just like you have an emotional issue, you have a spiritual issue, there's something wrong with your mentality, there's something wrong with your mental health. It shouldn't be an issue.
So if people can come out to say, look, I have cancer, I have pile, and it's not a big deal.
Yes,
because people need to know, if they can't discuss that in the open, how much more mental health?
Now,
so the burden falls on us as a people to educate ourselves, educate people who don't know that there's nothing wrong with getting help if you're ill.
I run an outreach for dealing with depression and suicide, DDS, and I had people call me after I shared my depression story and all of that. I had people call me to say, look, I am at the verge of attempting suicide, and I want to talk to you. I want to open up and I want to talk to you. Sometimes I have to leave my work and I have to go all out to reach out to this person. And when the story is shared, sometimes it's either it's financial. Then we begin to say to the person, hold on, just hold on. Look, you've got to realize that provided you're leaving, there's something called HOPE. It is called hope. And you're going to get past this. Other times the relationship has gone wrong, and then the seemingly only thing to do is to want to commit suicide. Do you understand? So I do not see anything wrong with anybody admitting the fact that, look, I am going down, I have a mental health issue, I am depressed. You know, sometimes like the issue that you shared with the former GM of a multinational who was taken to substance abuse. Sometimes those things happen because you're trying to run away from our reality. Because we have stress, we have issues, and we don't want to deal with it, so we get hooked up, we get hooked into substance abuse and all of that. But the first thing, if you're in substance abuse or if you're in whatever, to admit it first, then begin to ask for help.
Yes, this sharing the stories is part of the solution. Because if people will see that there are people who have been through those things and come through, they will say, oh, wait a minute, it's possible to pull through this.
Yes.
And they can then turn to the appropriate kind of therapy to help them get over it.
Institutions in this country.
They're not enough, but there are some there, and we don't use those that are there enough.
We have. When you say we're not enough, I'm beginning to, I'll be asking where you're coming from, because I don't even think
the place
we
in
have
Yaba
institutions
has helped a lot of people.
Yes, it does.
The place in Yaba has helped a lot of people.
There's a lot of stigma.
That's one. A stigma, so people are afraid to be seen there. The place in Aru has helped a lot of people in the past.
But tell you what has helped me as an individual, for instance. So for people who read a lot or read magazines, blah, 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 you find in magazines where they tell you, answer this 10, because some people are depressed, but they don't even know it.
Yes.
So answer these 10 questions and it will tell you whether you're borderline depressed, and all whatnot. And it tells you actually what to do to help get yourself out of this. For example, if you like going to the movies, for instance, you go to the movies. And I will never stop talking about our people and our culture. For example, the way that we bring up male children in this our society matters a lot. Because you find that as a wife, as a mother, as a career woman, you come to work, you have to care for your children, your husband, your external family, blah, blah, blah. You have to make money and bring back money home. And then when you go back home, you are still expected to do all the house chores while the men just sit and lounge.
Sometimes I worry for myself as a single woman, and I'm wondering, okay, now I am single, someday I'm going to be married. With how much stress I already go through as a single woman, imagine I have a family, then I have to go home, then I have to make minister to my husband, then I have to take care of my children, and nobody understands. Society expects.
So that's why I have decided as a mother, so the way I'm bringing up my children, so I have 2 boys and a girl, and I'm bringing them all up as there's no chore that is made for women alone and chore that's made for men alone. In fact, I'm harder on my boys because I want them to grow up and know that if you have a career woman, for example, and she goes out to work and supports financially, then the job should be split.
And not asking her to cook by 10 p.m.
The job should be split.
Not asking her to cook by
Everybody
10
should contribute.
p.m.
If
Or
I'm looking
11
after the kids,
p.m.
you're mopping. It's not left. It shouldn't be left for women alone. That's why women, are depressed and all
sometimes
that.
I wonder,
They always say that we are multitaskers, that we do this
No.
better than the men.
That is the point. That's
For women now, for men.
Are you saying that because I am a woman and I can multitask, so I should multitask my way into depression?
No, I'm not saying that.
And then you're not.
What are we saying?
I'm saying that we women,
What are we saying?
sometimes we don't talk about some of the things we face as career women. We don't talk about these issues, we don't share. And so when we get back home, we see ourselves still cooking, still making dinner for our husband.
Unfortunately.
So we need to also...
But it's also, let me play the man. Yeah. You see.
Men are not good listeners. If you decide to go out and share,
try, they may listen. If you try hard enough.
A Harvard Business Review recently said that men can't provide the kind of emotional support that women provide, especially after work. So when you've had Harvard Business Review, and you know that they do their research well, so after having gone through all this stress, you go back home and the man is dealing with it. So maybe because of the way men are wired, I don't know, they're not able to provide additional emotional support.
So we have to work on rewiring men. No, I think we have to send a message to the big man upstairs to tell him tweak the men a little bit. Let that gene work a little differently.
Coming back to the agenda setting for the next, God knows, 50 years, 20 years for this country, I think we need to give women a chance in a lot of areas.
Okay, I think on that note of giving women a chance, we'll take a break, hear from the people out there. When we come back, this man needs to be given a chance on this show.
Permission.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
For me, I think one of the reasons they felt difficulties in corporate environment is most men believe that they are the heads. So they don't want women to be in power. And women, I know they have right mind and working with the right policy. In politics, women too, that motherly love always show. But in Nigeria, politics today is not about motherly love. It's about keeping secret for men. That is for the point of view of men, keeping secret on what they do. But unlike women, at least he won't be able to keep, because that motherly love will always come to play.
Education is the premise of progress in every society. Over the years, we've seen our educational system weaken from what it was to what we see now.
We are faced with a situation where our institutions release graduates with little or no employability skills.
I'll advocate that employability and vocational training centers should be established in institutions. This will expose students to the realities of the corporate world and the business world.
A possible solution would be for Nigerian education to be tailored to the evolving needs of the world.
This year, the UN International Youth Day is focused on transforming education. The Center for Values in Leadership, CVL, would like to invite you for our International Youth Day Conference, scheduled for Thursday, August 15th, 2019 at 10 a.m. We look forward to seeing you there.
And we are back. This is Patitos Gang. And really amongst the many issues that are before us in terms of a challenge or of an agenda for the gender, for women, is the issue of how we manage deadbeat dads. there's a phenomenon that is very widespread in Nigeria today, which is that a lot of women are raising children all by themselves, and they have living spouses, many times separated from them, but paying no attention whatsoever to what this woman is doing to raise 3, 4, 5 children. Should society continue to pretend that all is well? In some cultures that I know of in the United States, a deadbeat dad is arrested and locked up and made to provide child support and stuff like that. But in this society, men are getting away with murder. What kind of society is that? What should we be doing about such?
Should we say it's cultural?
Cultural, men are supposed to be responsible in the culture.
That's not our culture.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not our culture. I mean, I'm a.
Yes, is it that the men just don't care, or they don't want to get out of the marriage, or they just don't think that they're responsible? Because I have so many cases of that happening.
Well, I do not think that that is our culture, because growing up, I mean, I saw my father being the man of the house, my grandfather being the man of the house, and I was told that the men, you know, take charge, because taking charge of your home is what makes you the man of the house. You know, unfortunately, society has made the woman, you know, take on economic responsibilities now that enables her to pay bills.
There are two parts. There's the part where, okay, the woman is earning more, but the family is still together, everybody's bringing in their bit. That's one part. But there's the part where marriage has broken down, the man has gone off and is not looking back, and this woman is raising 4 children all by herself. In fact, married, yes, they're very quick to marry again, and life just.
The other woman is still the only one taking care of.
What if I think this trend has continued because the woman decides to take care of the children. Let's imagine a situation where the man walks away in laziness, and then the woman decides not to take care of the children. Don't you think he will be forced to pick up his responsibility? I know that yes, there will be this affinity, but I think that it is because of the affinity, it is because of that connection that the men are, you know, doing what it is that they are doing.
I think it's lack of maybe consequence management on the part of government or the authorities, for example. So if you're in a marriage and the marriage breaks up, the man goes his way, the woman is left with the children, she's toiling, paying their way through school, and the man is not paying anything. What does the law say about ensuring that that man does its part? And when he fails to do that, so the number one question is, do we have such laws? I believe we do. And then the second question is, who enforces this? Who enforces the law? Who enforces the law?
Who goes with the woman? Would she like to go to court?
And then how long, even the judicial process, how long it takes?
So, I mean, it's a whole lot of things that are happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes do these women even have enough money to even pursue these cases?
Let's flick and take another side of this whole challenge, widowhood issues. There are many times when a woman loses her husband and the family moves in, strips her of everything, and then abandons her with the children. But they've taken away the things that were built by both the man and the woman together. They've taken everything away, and this woman is stuck. I mean, we started the Widow Support Center essentially because we ran into a case like this in 1983. And this is not real. It's not possible. It's not happening. A man with significant resources, 6-bedroom house, all of that. Cancer. Boom. And before he died, he even said it. He said, look, my dear wife, please don't fight my brothers. They're already taking away my things while I'm still alive. Can you imagine what they will do? They will just kill you. And nobody will raise our children. And they did move. They moved in, took everything. So this poor woman had to begin to struggle to raise her children all by herself.
That is wicked. That is.
It still boils down to talk. People need to be educated. Men, husbands need to know that they should have a will. You know, there's this. They should have a will, and that they should be trusting enough to ensure that their wives are the their wives and children are the beneficiary of their will, because when you die interstate, that is where people like your brothers and relations come in and swoop in on all that they worked for together as a couple before he died. So people should, men and even women should be educated to write their will while they are still alive. If you feel you don't have much.
There are actually many other ways besides writing the will. One of the ways is to incorporate a company in which all your assets are held, and the shareholders, the directors, are your wife and your children.
Yes.
So they just continue as inheritors of this enterprise, and nobody can come in and interfere with and go forward. But the important thing is giving a thought to it, because there are a lot of men who think to write a will or to do such a thing or to think about such a thing is to say, I'm going to die. In fact, some are foolish. Some are foolish enough to even think that they can be killed because
why do we live in self-denial in this country?
They don't even trust their wives or their spouses, because you find that someone in human resources, you find when you ask people to, next of kin, they put their children. Sometimes they're not even 18. And you can't put children who are that young. So it's just trust.
So what about our tradition? I mean, isn't it also working against widows? You find in some places, like in my place, a woman cannot buy land.
Where's that? Anambra.
Don't worry.
Yeah, because I know it's been overturned.
It's not in Anambra, but overturning it is one thing, but the actual ensuring or enforcing is another problem.
And once your husband dies, I mean, the brothers or whoever, they take over the tradition.
You're talking about buying land. What about renting houses in Lagos here? Tradition. Even as a single lady, landlords don't want to rent to you.
So we change it, so we're talking about widows.
We're talking about women issues. So I'm saying that.
How do we change the tradition, if there is anything like that tradition, to change along with the society?
Civil society, in my view, has a very important role to play. Organizations together, things like a women's conference or this or that, to help focus society's agenda on some of these kinds of issues.
Especially with the trending issues on rape and other things that concern women. So the Widow Support Center is putting together a conference called Women Speak, which comes up in October. And we intend to discuss all these issues in details and then come up, with an advocacy that we can push to ensure that women get a better...
I like the sound of come up with an advocacy, because we've had several talk.
No, it's not just talk. This time we will push for something different to happen.
Yeah, it's really saddening. I mean, what she's saying concerning the traditional institutions and communities that wouldn't let you buy land because you're a woman.
You see, there were reasons. You see, that's the problem with transition in culture. There were reasons for these kinds of things in past times. I'll give a classic example. Back in those days when family was essentially an economic institution, a man married several wives so that he could have enough people tilling and making all of that. Women supposed to be vulnerable. The tradition said clearly, if you die, your brother inherits your wife. The original idea was that so that your wife will never be in want, your children will always be taken care of. What has happened is that with the evolution of time, they've used it to acquire the man's things and then not do what they're supposed to do to the family. Yeah. And this is the abuse that's evolved in transition cultures. And these are the things that societies need to work towards. Anyway, unfortunately, we've come to, our time is out, and we've got to go. But we can continue the conversation, various social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, and so on and so forth. Important issues, don't give up on them. Besides thinking and talking about them, do something. Whatever it is, just do it. This is Patitos Gang, and we'll see you next time.